name is Nellie Doughty. I am with Welcome Home New Hampshire. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Frank Roche, who is the broker owner of Roche Realty in Meredith, New Hampshire. I've known Frank for a long time, not overly well, but I've called on his office and his agents through my tenure. But I have him here. I want him to tell us a little bit about himself and how's business. Thanks so much for joining us, Frank.
Well, thanks, Nellie. Thanks for having me. But basically, you know, I've been in the real estate profession now for about 46 years. And prior to that, I used to work for Coopers & Lybrand in Boston, a CPA consulting firm. But no, I've been fortunate to go through a lot of different cycles in the industry up here in the Lakes region and see how the demographics have changed over the years, and certainly how the footprint and the fabric of our area has changed here in the Lakes and Mountain region. But I've been very fortunate to be able to live in such a beautiful place with so many natural surroundings for everybody to take advantage of.
Yeah, you've built a beautiful office there. You've built some really beautiful developments. You're right in what I consider to be the best part of the state, as far as scenery and I just love the lakes. I'm a Southerner, so the lakes to me are kind of new. Lakes down south are few and far between and man-made. So you've got quite a view, even from where your office is in Meredith. So
yeah. Well, it's funny, you know, I look out my window and I can see Lake Winnipesaukee, and pretty blessed to have that viewscape every day. But, you know, there's basically 273 lakes, ponds, and rivers at what we call our lakes region. And as you know, we're surrounded by the White Mountain National Forest. We got, about 185 mountains over 3,000 feet high. And with all that acreage out there, we're basically the second most forested state in the country. But very fortunate in that we have a tremendous quality of life here in New Hampshire. And I'm not just talking the Lakes region, I'm talking the Seacoast, Rockingham, Hillsborough, all the counties. We've been picked #1 in quality of life for many years by a lot of different national polls, and #1 in livability. US News and Report last year came out in 2019 and picked New Hampshire #2 best state in the country. Yep. based on 40 different metrics. So those accolades really help a lot. You know, we were the lowest in crime and corrections. We were #1 in opportunity, which is a big thing. Moneyrates.com and bankrates.com picked New Hampshire #1 for retirement in the country.
Yep.
And in my own backyard right here on Winnipesaukee, Lake Winnipesaukee was picked #1 for retirement in the country under the category of cultural and recreational places. And that was by the Macmillan Guide, the 5th edition. So these are all good things. You know, we're the #1 state in the country for raising kids per the Kids Count survey by the Casey Foundation. And for a small state with only about 1,300,000 residents, we've got a lot to be very thankful for. And I guess the neatest thing is everything is so close. We're right in the center of New Hampshire, but let's say I'm tired of the lakes on a certain day and I just want to change your pace and I want to get down and smell the salt air and get myself a lobster roll. I'm an hour away. Right. If I want to get to the Green Mountains instead of the White Mountains, I'm an hour away. If I want to go to Maine and take advantage of all of that coastline, I look at that as being my sister state. And then even Canada, for that matter, we're in another country in a matter of 3 hours. So right. It's a good place.
It is. Personally, that's why I chose New Hampshire to actually land and Concord specifically, because I figured in the trades that we were in at the time in the early 80s, it was a nice commuting distance should you have to commute for work to Boston, Portland, you know, north. It was just so centrally located. But really, the Lakes region is kind of close to my heart. It's right there. You've got skiing within 20 minutes, if not 10 minutes at Gunstock. You know, you go a little bit further north, you've got Waterville, you've got Loon. I mean, it's centrally, it's great. And yes, the ocean is great. But the lakes are just phenomenal. You've got some really pretty little lakes up there. You've got really big Lake Winnipesaukee. So
Sure.
yeah, it's a great area.
I
So
guess,
yep,
yeah, I guess the kind of the way you'd sum it up is we're basically New England's playground up here. You know, we've got the proximity to Boston being only an hour and 50 minutes. Figure the demographic on how close we are to so many major metropolitan areas that we draw from: New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, the Florida people that come up here in the summer months. So, and what it's resulted in is we've transitioned from what used to be many years ago a primary home market into a large-scale second home market. Percentages have grown. Like, take towns like Moultonborough, for example, with 66 miles of shoreline on the lakes up here. They 60% of their residents are seasonal homes. 60%.
wow,
In Tuftonboro, it's about 53%. Alton, 45%, and even Laconia, our largest city along the lakes, over 25% of the population is seasonal homes. So these homeowners contribute immensely to the economic vitality of our region. And without them, think about where would these towns be in the future without second home owners contributing. They're buying boats, they're furnishing these homes, they're
right,
utilizing legal services, surveying, engineering, realtors,
yeah,
home decorating stores, and think of the restaurants and going out to the Bank of New Hampshire Music Pavilion, all
right,
the things that they support. You know, it's a fun thing to watch as it progresses, because some of our towns, we've catered to the tourists and to the second homeowners by keeping the atmosphere low key. Look at Meredith as an example, with the inns, the beautiful restaurants and eateries, the boardwalk all along the lake shore and the artist park, a lot of the nice little shops that you see that meander through the town. Look at Center Harbor, how lovely, and Wolfboro being the oldest resort town in America with the white picket fences and the white washed houses. It's kind of like a Nantucket Martha's Vineyard of the Lakes region.
no, it
And
is,
Alton, all of these towns have upgraded because of our ability to attract people who see the real beauty of our region and want to make it a place that they want to call home.
right. Well, I know that there's lots of talk right now with the elephant in the room, COVID, with people probably gravitating towards the suburbs, flocking towards the suburbs. So what are your thoughts on that with what's going on? Have you seen activity from out-of-state buyers? Have your agents seen any activity? More than normal? More than normal.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Nellie, because you remember after 9/11, there was a push of people getting out of New York and buying places in Vermont. We had some from New Hampshire. We had a lot of interest in buying small businesses like bed and breakfast, hotels, cottage colonies, convenience stores. People wanted a change of life. This event is even more far reaching in that it's affected a lot more people globally, and the exposure has been so immense that I think already I was listening to the governor of New Jersey and the governor of New York, and my aunt, my cousin's an attorney that's just retired and lives in Manhattan, and they're all talking about, there was a big article on CNBC the other day where the big trend, as you know, has been urbanization, go to the cities the last 10 years. That's changing so quickly because of what we're going through.
Right.
So they want to get out into the fresh air. And in that article, they said what people now are visualizing as being at the foot of the mountain or at the edge of a lake. And I just couldn't believe it that they were saying this. But and the other thing is people are working from home more. They're using technology. They're able to telecommute. So I think you're going to see a lot of trend lines develop as a result of this, and people getting back to a more stable, simpler form of life with some land around. They're growing gardens. Gardening is a big thing right
It's
now.
huge. And baking. Everybody's baking again. I think it's so cute.
Everybody's baking, and you know, to live in a city, if you ever experience the Bronx, for example, I had a friend of mine in college that was on the basketball team. We went to his home in the Bronx, and it's such a different environment. You know, you're pushing a button to go up 12 stories to your apartment, and then when you get down below, it's all concrete, some basketball courts, but there's no open space. You don't have 760,000 acres of natural forest to hike 2,000 miles of hiking trails. To
Right.
be able to go out on just thousands and thousands of acres of water and enjoy life. We're truly in a special place that's going to attract people, not only New Hampshire, but Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont, because we live in such close proximity to such a major demographic. And think of this, the baby boom generation, 77 million strong. Okay, they're at the peak of their semi-retirement days. And are they going to say, do I want more congestion? Do I want more traffic? Do I want the stresses that I see every day? Do I want the high cost of living and the high taxes of living, say in a state like New Jersey? Is it better for me to take my remaining years and migrate to places of familiar origin where I took my vacations?
Right.
We're no different than birds. And we want to enjoy those special places and go back to them so that our children and grandchildren can explore and have the same thing that we enjoyed growing up as young children. And I think that's our draw and always will. The thing we have to do is make our region always conducive and attractive for people like that. We don't want to become an industrialized area. We're not Stamford, Connecticut. And why should we try to be?
No.
Try to provide services, resources, cultural events, activities in a beautiful natural environment, and not get overdeveloped, be peaceful, serene, and draw people to a special place.
Right.
I think that's what we want to stand for.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that New Hampshire is just, it's lovely. I think you're in the prime spot of it. You've got a great agency there. You've got a group of really great agents. What else can I say?
Yeah. Well, I guess we all know anybody who's lived in this wonderful state, I think, shares the same thing. And it's funny how connected we are within such a small state. You can almost go anywhere and you run into somebody that you know.
Oh, no kidding. No, that's so true. That's so true. Thanks for joining us, Frank Roche with Roche Realty Group in Meredith, New Hampshire. Appreciate your input, your input on everything that's going on and with the real estate market. You've been around a while. We appreciate you and have a great afternoon. Thanks so much.
Yeah, Nellie, I want to thank you very much, and all of us will come out of this whole thing together, and I think it's going to be a much brighter picture when we all do.
Yeah, well, I look forward to seeing you again when we can actually like see each other.
Yeah, thanks so much, Nellie.